So, you guys, are moms to be blamed for their picky eaters? I mean, really, is it because of them that they have birthed into this world a picky eater? Are dads really making the decision as to who becomes the human that is formed between a couple? Are they really determining whether or not it's going to be a girl or a boy? Have we been blaming the wrong gender, or should we be blaming anybody at all? One of my favorite comments is when moms say that their children are in their hearts forever. Did you know that they are scientifically correct? I also have information that will make you think twice about who you are having a child with. So, you guys, one of my most fun things is to really look at how science evolves. Now, oftentimes we will say science got it wrong. And in some ways, it feels like science got it wrong, but you can't get wrong what you don't know. So, one of the most important thing is for us to be open-minded to the evolving of science and then to take that information and do what is best to be done with it. Some of my favorite discoveries I'm going to share with you today. My favorite evolutions when it comes to the reproductive cycle and when it comes to the evolution of how we all got here and how we are who we are. One of my favorite topics is really talking about the process of fertilization. And I'm going to share with you some important things that we have found out about fertilization. So before we get into those topics, first of all, thank you for being here because I do not take your time for granted, nor your attention, because what did they say? Attention is the new currency. Same. Yes, it is. So thank you for new visitors. And as always, I am deeply appreciative of all those who have been with us for years. Some of you guys have been holding down this platform and allowing us to get our information out there. Now, this information is for everyone. This topic is literally for everyone. When we talk about everyone, talk about every race, every ethnicity, every gender, whatever you identify as, listen, you're going to take away something from today's topic. I promise you. Okay, so let's get into the topics because, like I said, y'all ain't got time, right? All right, so let's start with the topic of fertilization, one of my favorite topics. So, scientifically, we have believed for a long time that those of us who made it here are the better swimmers, right? That we got to the egg quicker, faster, and we're more efficient in getting through that outer layer of the egg that then resulted in a fertilization that birthed you and I, right? So we have held on to that theory for a very long time. But science is really evolving in such a extremely fascinating way. So did you guys hear that the egg actually has a more active role in who gets to be here? Let me explain. So the egg apparently releases what's called chemoattractants, and those chemoattractants then chooses who should be attracted to the egg. So the egg is either going to tell you, speed your behind up, or mm-mm, you need to slow all the way down. I love that. And so the egg then, when the swimmers, because you guys know I got to use friendly terms for these platforms so that they don't, you know. So basically, when the swimmers get to the egg, then the egg evaluates you. Like, what you bringing? Let me find out what you got to offer. Literally, genetically evaluating the health, and certainly this goes on levels that we have yet to even fully understand how the egg decides what it decides. But the point is, the egg has an active role in choosing who it allows to enter in. So there are other mechanisms and decision making that we have yet to really fully understand as to how does the egg really decide who it lets in. But I tell you, this area of science is extremely fascinating. Another fascinating area of science is microchimerism. Yes, microchimerism is one of the most fascinating phenomenons to me. I'm not going to touch on how it affects or exhibits itself in siblings, and that whole science is also fascinating. But the fact that moms have, in general, have said that they hold their children in their hearts has been something that has stayed with me. One of those sayings that seems to be across all cultures, across all race. And what's really interesting is that they are actually scientifically correct. So we know that there's lots of interactions between mom and her developing child or children. And a lot of the crossing of cells between that placental uterine barrier. Oftentimes we think of things like waste and nutrients, but there's so much more that's being transferred, and there is transference of genetic information. You see, what we're finding out is that yes, we do understand that there's cell-free DNA that's in the placenta, released from the placenta into the maternal circulation. And that is what has led to this amazing test that we have, which is the cell-free DNA test. Some people know it as NIPT. Other labs have different names for the test. And this is the test oftentimes people are asking, do we yet know what gender I'm having? Because one of the things that's detected by the test is the gender of the child. So, one of the things that science has discovered in recent years, this is not new, but I think it's important to discuss and to bring to your attention because still a lot of people have not heard about microchimerism. And so that genetic information then becomes a part of mom's circulation. And that's how we're able to do the serum blood test that's done that then determines the risk for certain chromosomal issues, like whether or not there's aneuploidy, a trisomy, such as trisomy 21, in the growing fetus in the mom's womb. That's not all, you guys. So there are some fetal stem cells. Yes, stem cells. And you know stem cells very well because stem cells have garnered a lot of scientific attention because of just the evolving research that is showing the healing power of these stem cells, the multipotent stem cells. These stem cells, which also has paternal genetic information, then becomes a part of mom's circulation. This is fascinating, you guys. And these stem cells also have been shown to have protective effect on moms. And this protective effect seems to target certain organs, especially what? The heart, the brain, the bones, the liver, and seem to have a really protective effect on healing power on moms. DNA. So moms carry genetic information of their children, and guess whom? This is why you want to choose your partner right, ladies, okay? Because you're going to be carrying his genetic information for years. Some people say decades, these stem cells exist in mom's circulation and in these target organs. The other important thing to know is that these same cells can also seem to have a role in the development of autoimmune conditions, which would completely explain why autoimmune conditions are so much more prevalent in women. So, that being said, I think this is a fascinating area of science. And the other thing that has blown my mind is that the opposite is also true. So, you are carrying your mom's, I mean, clearly you're carrying your mom's DNA, right? Because that's how you became formed. But even beyond that, there seems to be certain cells that transfers and becomes a part of the child that she's carrying. This science is still very much evolving, but these appear to be teacher cells. So beyond the genetic information that makes us who we seem to receive cells from our mom's circulation that becomes teacher cells in a way. And I use that, that's my term. I don't know that they're using that as a term. That's how I have interpreted this information because these cells seem to teach the child how to express certain DNA, how to mold their immune system for organ information. So it's you guys, it's incredible what we're finding out. So clearly, this information is showing us that moms have been teaching us from the very beginning. Moms are literally teaching us from inside the womb, you guys. This is incredible. That's not all they're teaching us. Let me also explain. So, have you moms ever wondered, why is my child such a picky eater? Don't like this, don't like that. What is going on?
The last time you were at one of these carpets, you made a lot of headlines, okay? Talking about the wedding has happened. Did you think that that would blow up the way that it did?
I think the weather is really amazing today. It's so sunny. It's a little warm, but it's beautiful. There's no rain, It's beautiful.
Well, there is science that is evolving, that is showing that babies are learning what they like and what they don't like from inside the womb.
Surprise, surprise. Surprise, surprise.
That's right, you guys. Mom's diet has a huge role on ultimately what that child is going to consume as a part of their diet, even before they start consuming their first foods as an infant. So apparently, you guys, we know that taste buds start forming as early as 8 weeks. And by the end of the first trimester, babies are starting to drink their amniotic fluid. That's basically part of how the amniotic fluid is regulated to make sure it's not too much nor too little, right? And so the baby's development of these taste buds continue to evolve over the second and third trimesters. By 16 weeks, babies start to develop taste receptors. And as the trimesters progress, they start to learn how to distinguish between salt and sour and bitter and sweet. Science has shown that the more certain foods that babies are exposed to, the more likely they are actually going to consume those foods after they are born and as they grow throughout life. So if you are eating a healthier diet when the babies are in the womb, and the healthy diets we talked about in terms of the microbiome of babies, I'm not going to touch on that, but this is just to put a pin in that, to remember that what you consume during your pregnancy has so much impact on the baby's long-term health. And I say baby, but I mean that individual's health throughout life as a child and as an adult. So, specifically when it comes to taste and preferences of taste, babies are starting to learn that information from inside of the womb. So, they are starting to learn what they like and what they don't like. So, if you're consuming a diet that's heavy in unhealthy foods, then don't be surprised if your child comes out and really likes junk food. That's literally what the science is starting to lean and decide. And this is not all or none. There have been uh, some some interesting findings when it comes to a study that looked at babies that consume carrots versus kale in the womb. So this is not completely all or none, and there's still so much information we have to learn about it. But it is fascinating to me to learn that so much of what a mom does during her pregnancy, and hopefully she's supported by a partner that is on that journey with her. So she's not eating this healthy diet by herself, but she's eating it as a part of the whole family. You guys know that that's my philosophy and I'm sticking to it. Okay. Which each child that a couple develops, that ultimately is going to determine whether or not the family will be healthy eaters. And also, dad's health has a huge role in maternal outcome, as we have shared multiple times on this platform. So, it is so mind-blowing what science is learning about how fetal programming, and I've used this term before, how fetal programming is so complex and how we are all in some ways microchimerisms. We are all carrying multiple cell lines in our bodies. And I can't touch on everything today, but there are some things that are just incredibly fascinating. The other thing that's fascinating about a woman's fertility is how stress seems to have a bigger role in our ovarian reserve than we once understood. So scientists at USCF have discovered just how much innervation of our sympathetic, which is our fight or flight or freeze system, and our parasympathetic system has in innervating the ovaries. And so basically what they're finding out is that the parasympathetic innervation, which is found to heavily innervate the ovarian blood vessels and support balance the effects of the sympathetic system. Now, the mapping of the ovary shows a dense network of sympathetic nerves throughout ovarian tissue. And these nerves directly influence egg development. So what they are finding is that even in animal studies, they're starting to show that when they remove the sympathetic nerves, it results in a higher number of eggs remaining dominant, but fewer eggs actually fully mature. So what this suggests is that our fight or flight nervous system seems to determine which eggs wake up and which eggs develop. So, stress and chronic stress, as you can infer from this, must have a significant impact on the aging process of our ovaries, how well and how healthy our ovarian reserve is, which then correlates to our ultimate fertility. These are still theories, you guys. We haven't actually connected all of the dots, but I have found this particular aspect of science to be so enlightening, you guys, because it may actually lead to fully understanding why certain particular groups that experience chronic stress seem to have such a significant impact on their fertility. And this also could be a way for us to improve ovarian reserve and fertility by addressing the stress issue if all of these dots really do connect. So it's going to be interesting to see how science continues to evolve. These are just fascinating topics for me. I just could not wait to share a lot of this information for you, with you, because I think it's important that we all know where science is going. And so that we all are on the same track and speaking the same language and have the same understanding of what we do really understand about fertility, reproduction, having kids in general, and the decision making about having kids and how we can optimize our health to have the healthiest kids possible. So there's so much more, you guys, about sibling health, about dad health, dad brain. If you guys want to hear more about these scientific discoveries, hit me up in the comments. I want to know whether or not you find this information as fascinating as I do, because I'm super excited, but I know I can be a little bit of a nerd. Okay. So I want to know, do you find this information to be exciting? You don't have to be as excited as I am, but if it does excite you, I do want to know. And what other questions you may have about fertility and reproduction. And maybe you may be the source of a next medical breakthrough by your scientific curiosity. So this, you guys, is Dr. T, the hand behind the handle of Healthy Bump Club right here on YouTube and healthybump.club on Instagram. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me today. I hope this has been enlightening to you. And I hope to see you guys where? Of course, the next episode. This is Dr. T, just a friendly reminder. Don't forget to comment, like, and share. And go ahead, why not? Click that subscribe button. Help us to get to the next 1,000 subscribers. We thank you guys for supporting.